Hello everybody, it's Ztrox here, and welcome back to another Brawlmachine battle report. And today we have Thagrosh 1 going up against Ragnor 1. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting matchup here. It was two very heavy armies going up against each other. Ragnor running a bit of a beast brick, and Thagrosh running an Ogrun list. So lots of medium bases, lots of large bases on the table, and just two really big beefy armies going into each other. So it was a ton of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy. Without further ado, let's get on to the lists. So for my Thagrosh 1 list today, I brought, well, of course, Thagrosh 1. So Thagrosh 1 is a pretty fun caster. He's got, first of all, really decent personal output. Blighted Breath, giving just Power 12 Spray 8 is always super fun. I absolutely love sprays, so that's always just a nice little thing to have. And then his melee output, he's got two initials, one of which is a Power 16, which is just pretty good in general. It has Eruption of Ash, so he gets to throw cloud effects that do fire damage when he kills things. It doesn't come up too often, because usually he's not getting too far into it without risking dying, but it's there. Defensively, he's halfway decent with 14, 16, and tough. And he's Fury 7. He's got a Thank as an ability, meaning if he's not getting enough Fury from his beasts, he goes back up to max anyways. He doesn't really care. He can put Animi up of Legion Warbeasts in his battle group without spending Fury, so pretty much consistently going to be able to have stuff like Spiny Growth on himself. Or for Mekanoshredder Animi, he can hand those out pretty easily as well. And then he has Death Shroud, so anything within 10 of him, enemy models get -2 strength, which is pretty good. Just a nice little defensive buff for his entire army. In terms of spells, he's got Draconic Blessing, which is a strength buff. Really good on units, or if you just need a Warbeast to do a super amount of damage. Also gives Immunity Fire, which definitely comes up with some of the sprays that are prevalent in a lot of the Legion lists, so it's always good. He's got Fog of War, help you get up the board a little bit with some concealment. Mutagenesis, which is a nice little bit of a fun trick that he has once in a while. Doesn't really come up too often for me, at least, but definitely something you can use to pull off some kind of cool plays. Obliteration is just kind of his token blast spell. Once in a while it's useful, usually doesn't end up meaning much. And then Twisted Form, which is really good against Warbeasts and not so much into Warmachine. Lastly, for his feat, he gets to revive a large based or smaller Warbeast that was destroyed during the game, and it's absolutely fantastic, especially at Brawlmachine levels where bringing back a heavy is massive. For Thagrosh's battle group today, I brought the Angelius. The Angelius is just a really fun model that can go pretty good threat range. Before it's ready to get in, it has a halfway decent gun that it can kind of just pepper spray with. But when it does go in, it's got an armor-piercing single-shot weapon, which is super powerful. And it really just wants to be very scary for as long as humanly possible before finally actually going in and doing work. Then it has Sidestep, which kind of lets it, after it's done its big thing, can kind of tow around, hit some solos, that sort of thing. Alongside the Angelius, I brought Carnivean. Carnivean's just a fantastic beast. There's not too much to say about him. He's got a good number of initials, he's got a fantastic spray, he's got Assault, he's got Spiny Growth, he's got Chain Attack. There's absolutely nothing not to love about this beast, and I wanted as many heavies as I could possibly have because Thagrosh's feat. I'd like to have options with that, so it was just a good thing to have in general. Rounding out the battle group, I kept a Mekanoshredder in here. Full Steam is just such an amazing animus to have, and against Warmachine or construct-based armies in general, the Mekanoshredder can actually do some work, so it's just a great model to have. Going into the solos, I brought a Spell Martyr just for random little arc node there. I brought the Forsaken, which is just a fun model to play with. It's a half-decent flag camper, can leech Fury off of my Warbeast, which helps with Fury management when I'm running two heavies like this. And then it has the little Blight Shroud attack, which I find can be really good for high defense models, or if you can get enough stacked up Fury on, say, an enemy Warbeast, it can actually do a reasonable amount of damage, so it's not a terrible model to have. Lastly, for the solos, I have the Warmonger War Chief. I mostly brought this guy for the veteran leader, and the leadership, I guess, too. They're both just really good things to have, especially on the Warmongers. With the Blood Drinker, because then they can kind of use that to stop their own Berserk chains, which is just a fun little thing that they can do. For my unit today, I brought a full unit of Warmongers. These guys hit relatively hard. They have Berserk, they have Vengeance in theme, and they're very, very accurate on charges. With them, I brought Gorag Rotteneye, who increases their accuracy even more, hits relatively hard himself, and gives them the no quarter mini feat here, which is just a range extension on their movement, and Pathfinder for a turn. Overall, just really fantastic solo to have, especially with Paralyzing Gaze, just giving a defense debuff to anything pretty much within 8 of him. So that's the whole list today. If it wasn't clear, I brought in Primal Terrors, which just gives all the Ogrun guys Vengeance, which is a pretty big deal for these guys. And without further ado, we'll go on to Reed's list.
So for this battle, I chose to bring Ragnor. He's got a good amount of fury for a Troll Warcaster. He gives all of his warbeasts weight of stone, which means when they hit a model with a melee weapon, they suffer -3 speed and defense for 1 round. Other than that, he's got Chosen Ground, so he can give his entire battle group Pathfinder Steady. He can give Earth Sanctuary to friendly faction models, so it gives them, makes them dug in, which gives them cover and just helps him protect all of his warbeasts. He's got Hex Blast, remove pesky upkeeps and animi. And then Pulverizer for a strength buff and situationally beatback. And the Shockwave, it can be a good assassination tool because it knocks models down in a 4-inch AoE. His feat makes enemy models that make damage rolls against a friendly faction model in his control range roll 1 less die, which is really good defensively. I brought the Trollkin Runebearer. He's here to lower my cost of my spells, potentially Spell Slave, and just extend my control range. Dire Troll Mauler is just a big beater. He hits really hard and he gives rage, so he can buff the rest of my list. I brought the Earthborn Dire Troll. He's just a really efficient heavy warbeast. He gets bonuses for being near terrain, and he can hit pretty hard when rage is put on him. I then brought the Troll Axer. He's just another beatstick light, and he's going to give Rush as an animus, so I can increase the threat range of my list by 2, and is another instance of Pathfinder. I then brought the Impaler. He's got a pretty good spear, and it's a thrown weapon, so it's affected by the rage bonus. I then brought the Bouncer. He is a shield. I brought him because of the shield guard, and he's just good on scenario presence because of his tankiness. I brought Lanyssa Ryssyl to increase my threat range with Hunter's Mark. Beyond that, she's also just good at flank camping. I then brought 2 Troll Whelps for Fury management and additionally flank camping.
Legion, turn 1. So, I won the role to go first here, or maybe I lost and he picked sides. I honestly don't remember at this point. But my goal basically for the first turn is just to get as far forward as possible, get some of my upkeeps going nice and early. So I think Thagrosh is one of the first models to go here, and he's going to put Spiny Growth on himself because he can do it for free. He's going to throw up Fog of War and put Draconic Blessing on the unit. Basically just getting all the stuff that I'm going to want out for the rest of the game. I was debating using the mini feed on the unit here. I decided against it. I just didn't really know if it was going to end up being more valuable to get a good position early or use it later to have an extended threat. I decided to hold on to it just in case. But for the most part, everything else is just moving up. I know what's going to happen here is Carnivean's going to rile up to max, and then I have my Forsaken walk over to him just to leech all of that off. So the Forsaken sitting on 4 pretty much right from the start. And then everything else just kind of moves. Angelius is checking the threat on Impaler here. Just trying to stay a little bit out because I don't want to be hit too hard. But at the end of the day, I decide I kind of need to accept a shot from the Impaler, and I have Fog of War up, so it's probably fine. And there's me measuring that out, but I determined it's fine, so that's my...
Trollbloods, turn 1. So right here, I see that Angelius moved up pretty far, so I'm just working out if my Impaler can get to him. So I'm going to walk him up. He's getting in within Angelius' threat range, but I figured if Angelius goes in, Angelius is going to die, and it's going to be a pretty bad trade, trading a light for heavy. So I figured it was worth it to get some chip in here. So right here I'm rolling the shot, and I end up hitting with a crit smite, which is a pretty nice bonus. So Angelius can't be knocked down, so I'm just going to push him back a few inches. But I end up doing a pretty solid damage roll, and I get like 8 damage into him. So right here I'm just working out where the rest of my beasts are going to be positioned for next turn. Because I want them to be relevant for scenario, and I just don't want to get into threats until I have to. So I end up moving my Axer first. I want him to be able to threaten the infantry once they move into the zone with his Thresher, and just be relevant on scenario. I'm then move my Earthborn Dire Troll, so he's within 2 inches of the forest and 2 inches of the house, so he'll get +2 speed and +2 armor, just in case if any models target him. I also put up Earth's Blessing on him, making it so he cannot be moved. I then move up the Bouncer, who's just going to be there ready for next turn. Right here, I'm just making sure all the focus is marked. Or sorry, Fury. And then the Dire Troll Mauler is going to move up and stay outside of Angelius' threat, but be able to respond if he goes in on the Impaler.
Legion, turn 2. Alright, so I decided I was going to upkeep Draconic Blessing, but I don't think I'm going to need Fog of War anymore, so I dropped that down. I run the Spell Martyr just to give myself line of sight to one of his trolls there. I think that's the Earthborn on that side. And my goal here with Thagrosh is he's going to give himself Spiny Growth and throw Twisted Form into the heavy. And yeah, so I roll that out in a second here. And unfortunately, it does end up missing, and I completely waste the Spell Martyr, which is a little bit disappointing. Especially since having such a heavy debuff onto an Earthborn Dire Troll would be really, really nice. But that's alright. So Thagrosh is still camping 1, and he's not in too dangerous of a position, so I don't feel that bad about it. Now it's just time for most of my stuff to just kind of get up the board, be intimidating. So I spend a little bit of time here thinking about how I want to do this, how I want to move things. I was a little bummed because I boosted to hit that, as you could see, and missing it kind of throws off my game plan a little bit, but I'm just going to throw the unit up in a reasonably well spread out position here. I want to get most of them in the zone, but I'm not too worried about scoring right now because I know he's going to be contesting on his turn anyways. So I just want to make sure I have enough contesting and I can trigger my vengeance next turn. So most of my models are just kind of running around. I think that's the Ogrun solo there that I just throw on the flag. And now I'm figuring out what I want the rest of my guys to do. Once again, the Forsaken is just going to basically end up leeching Fury off of something. I believe it's the Mekanoshredder this turn. Everything else is just kind of moving up. Carnivean, when I get to him here, which I think is who I'm about to move, he ends up putting Spiny Growth on himself, and then he moves kind of defensively just to block off Thagrosh, just in case. In terms of Angelius, I got knocked back a little bit last turn, so I wasn't able to go back in on the Impaler, but I do. So I end up taking the shot on the Troll Whelp, just kind of hiding out there, and I do manage to remove him from the board, so that's my turn.
Trollbloods Turn 2. So right here, I'm just deciding how to engage the Ogrun front line. I want to get some pieces, but I also need to hold the zone, and I also don't want to give too much here. So I'm just considering the best way to do this. And while I'm thinking here, I end up deciding to go with the Impaler first, since his move is going to be the easiest. And all he's going to do is scooch up a little and take another pot shot at Angelius. He ends up hitting, which is pretty lucky, but no crit smite. He does pretty solid damage. He ends up doing 5 to the 4. And now I'm just deciding what everything else wants to do. So right here, I'm going to start looking at where the Axer can go. Since I want him to I think I want him to take out the Ogrun, since he's got Thresher. As well, since he's a light, I'm a bit more comfortable peace trading him here. So I'm working out where he can go, and seeing if I can get a third model. I'm barely out, and it looks like I can only get 2, and to get that 2, I'm going to have to rush. I'm also working out where the Earthborn wants to go after the Axer, because I don't want the Axer to block the Earthborn's charge lanes, and also don't want the Axer to take out models that the Earthborn could also take out. So I'm pretty confident it's going to be feat turn here, because I'm going to be taking an alpha, and I'm also considering putting in the Earthborn Dire Troll at this point, just to hold down the zone and to threaten anything that takes out the Axer. And I feel relatively comfortable that the Earthborn should be able to survive the models that are going to go into it underneath Ragnar's feet. So right here, I'm just working out how I want to give Animuses. I end up giving Rage, forgetting that I need to rush, which is a bit of a wasted activation because I could have positioned Mauler in a better spot if I didn't put up that Animus. Then I'm going to give Pulverizer to the Axer, so he'll be getting at least +2 strength from that. Then I'm going to have the Axer go, or sorry, no, I have Ragnor go first. This is just him moving and putting up Pulverizer and feeding. And I believe he's also the one that cast Rush onto the Axer. The Axer then charges. He's going to be hitting into 2 of the Ogruns there with a Thresher. So he ends up hitting 1, and he does enough to kill it, but unfortunately Jason Tufts. So he's just going to be knocked down. And the other one completely whiffs. So I expected a little bit more there, but unfortunately it didn't go my way. Then right here, I'm going to be going for a throw here with the Earthborn Dire Troll. I was considering a slam, but the throw looked like it was a bit better here, so I'm hoping to get some of the Ogrun knocked down, so Les will be vengeancing and maybe get a kill here. So I'm just working out the distance and the angles here. So here I go to move him up, and using Fury and his initials, all of his initials for this. I end up hitting. I boost it and throws him back. Right here I'm going to be rolling damage, and it does enough to kill the first one, and the second one just gets injured. So I feel a bit more comfortable with my beast standing there with some of the Ogrun knocked down and not being able to do work that turn. But I should still be taking a pretty hard alpha. I then move the Bouncer up, just because I think Angelius is coming in, and I want some extra beasts being able to deal with it there. Then I'm just setting up my solos to cap the flag. Oh, and right here I have Lanyssa move up and take a shot at Angelius with Ice Bolt.
Legion, turn 3. Alright, so this turn I know I got to do a lot of work, and I'm starting out by upkeeping Draconic Blessing, let the Ogrun hit super hard for a little bit, and then the Ogrun are doing their vengeance moves, and at first I consider having a few of them smack, but I kind of go back on that. I'm like, you know what, I'd rather they get the charges later this turn. So I end up actually backing them up, and you'll see in a second I reposition a few of them there. And then I also make sure I leave a lane open for my Forsaken to come up, because the Forsaken's going to do a lot this turn. He's going to jump forward there because he's fully loaded up on Fury right now. So everything within 5 inches of him is going to be what's getting hit here. So he's going to jump up and he's going to pop. And the first thing I'm rolling for here is the Whelp on the flag at the top there. And I believe I had like a single die on it, but I needed a relatively low number to kill it, so I manage it. And then for the other guys there, the Axer had, I think, 3 Fury on him, so I get a few additional dice on this, and I end up doing a decent amount of damage to the Axer, and actually a surprising amount to the Earthborn Dire Troll as well. So now for the Ogrun, the knockdown ones, I decide they're going to give up their combat action because I want them to still be able to move. Even the one who was technically engaged and could have smacked anyways, I wanted to allow more models to move. So I end up charging most of them in, and I start rolling damage on the Axer here. So the first one, if I remember correctly, actually hits really, really hard. I'm about to roll the hit there, which is pretty much trivial because of all the buffs that I have and the fact that these guys aren't crazy high defense to begin with. And I end up doing, I think, 10 damage on the first hit. And then the second one here is about to go through, and I do actually enough to remove the Axer. So then my last guy hits into the Earthborn here, and I think I do actually a reasonable amount of damage. I think I do like 4 or something like that. So that was pretty good. I got a little bit of chip damage into the Earthborn Dire Troll, and removed the Axer from the table completely. So I'm debating what to do with my solo, and I think for now I'm just going to leave him on the flag. I tell myself that I'll pull him off the flag if I need to remove the Earthborn Troll. But for the moment, I decide I'm going to leave him there. For the next thing, I have the Mekanoshredder go, actually. Or, oh, maybe I do Thagrosh first. Yeah, no, never mind. I did Thagrosh first here. So, Thagrosh wants to kill Lanyssa because she went up pretty far. So, Thagrosh is going to come around the corner there, and he just sprays Lanyssa. I decide to boost a hit, and my goal here is basically just pop one of his last solos off of the board. He'll lose a little bit of contesting power and should put me in a pretty good position overall. So I hit. I'm debating whether I want to boost the damage or not. It's relatively high odds to kill as it is, but I do go for the boost anyways just to ensure it, and I take her right off the board. So that was pretty good. Thagrosh doing a little bit of good personal work this turn. So from there, I believe now I go for the Mekanoshredder. Oh, right, that was me doing damage to the objective, which I just light on fire. I don't actually hit for any damage. So I move the Mekanoshredder, give Carnivean a free charge this turn, and then I charge him into the Earthborn Troll. So the Assault Spray can't actually do anything because it's fire damage, so the first attack that goes through is the Bite, and I end up doing a pretty solid amount of damage. The first Bite, not so much, but I am under his feet here, so I'm kind of just chipping away here. I got my 3 initials go in and do a little bit here and there. I think between all my initials, I don't even scratch 10 damage. But then I buy a Bite, and I boost the damage on it, and I don't know if that's the one I'm rolling right now or where I am with the rolls here, but I end up blowing up one of the damage rolls, and I am actually able to take the Dire Troll off the table here. So I think I'm going to roll the final one in a moment here. I'm just doing Fury management things, and that was probably the one that I blew up there, and then I managed to remove it on the next one. So I do get Carnivean up to, I think, maxed. I think he was maxed on Fury. So now I'm figuring out what the Angelius is going to do. So the Angelius charges the Impaler with the armor-piercing weapon, and so far I've been really happy with what I was able to do under Ragnor feat. So even if really nothing comes out of this, it's a pretty big win for this turn overall. But under armor piercing, I'm not too worried about the feat. I'm still like dice +3 or something like that, and I've got a charge, so it's going to be boosted damage. So I roll out the damage here, and I actually do a really, really good amount of damage to the Impaler. And then I have the choice between whether I want to buy attacks into the Impaler at like dice off 3 or something like that, or if I want to be trying to hit his solo. So I end up sidestepping into the solo, and I make my second initial into that. I leave it on 1 box, and then I debate whether I want to buy into it or buy into the Impaler. I elect to go for the solo, and I do manage to remove him. So for now, It's just going to kind of be, what do I want to spend my last Fury on? Because I'm not expecting Angelius to live here, so there's no reason to be conservative. I debated going into the objective, but I end up hitting the Impaler for, I think I just did like a couple damage to it. And that's my turn.
Trollbloods Turn 3. So I unfortunately lost more models than I expected. There's some lucky dice rolls, but that happens. So I'm just working out how I want to get out of this situation. I decide that Ragnor has to be a bit closer than I am comfortable with. Just to get some work done, he needs to contribute a bit more, since a lot of my workhorse models went down there. So right here, I'm looking at throwing out a Shockwave to control the board a little. I want to knock down Carnivean and the 2 Ogrun, and I managed to hit and knock all 3 of them down. So I'm just going to leave them there for now. Sorry, move him a bit more forward and have him toe the zone. Just to be a bit more relevant on board position. And just making sure Carnivean can't get to me. I then have the Bouncer go. He ends up taking Free Strike from Angelius, but I want a model to hold the zone, so Jason does a score up. So he eats a bit of damage, and I end up regenerating him since he just ran there. So I'm looking at the board, and I know Angelius has to go down if I have any hopes of winning, otherwise my caster is just dead in the water. So working out how I want to do this. I am deciding the Mauler is going to be the best bet, just to free up the Impaler, so the Impaler can throw a spear at someone. So I have him go, put up Rage. He just walks in, and I'm going to be boosting these attacks, since Angelius is a defense 14 model. I end up missing the first one, boosting the second one, and I hit. I'm something like dice plus 2 or 3 here. So I think I end up boosting this. And I bring him down to 2 health. I just buy another one, hard roll it, hit, and I remove him. So now that the Impaler's free, I'm looking at targets he can shoot. I believe he can't see the Ogrun in the forest, so I end up just taking a shot at Thagrosh, hoping just to put in some chip. So I use Powerful Shot, I end up hitting, and I actually crit smite here, which is pretty lucky, so I could knock him back a little and knock him down. I do a good chunk of damage too. Thagrosh can't transfer, so he's going to just take 11 damage.
Legion turn 4. Alright, so it's definitely an interesting point here because most of my models are knocked down, but I definitely have a big attrition lead, so now I just kind of need to make sure I can keep it. So Carnivean's shaking knockdown, and I haven't charged that Bouncer there because he didn't have line of sight to anything more important. And I'm making my Assault Spray here, and I end up hitting the Bouncer, doing a little bit of damage. I do actually a surprisingly good amount of damage to the Mauler as well, but unfortunately Ragnor is completely missed by it, which, you know, only so much you can expect. It was an Assault Spray, so I was pretty happy that I even did a good chunk of damage to the other 2 models. So I'm just rolling that out here, and then I'm going to start making my melees into the Bouncer. I believe that was the roll into the Mauler there. So I'm going to start rolling into the Bouncer now with all the melees. Oh, sorry, that must have been Ragnor, because we were double checking the distance, make sure I was actually in on the Mauler. So now we're doing damage to the Mauler. Like I said, I do a surprisingly decent amount of damage, and then I start making my melee attacks into the Bouncer and pretty easily remove it. So now I gotta figure out what I'm doing with the rest of these guys. The Ogrun's job is really just to tie up and put Ragnor in a hot seat. So the 2 that were knocked down and facing away are just going to shake their knockdown by forfeiting combat. And then I'm putting a run charge with mini feet here. really just trying to get as many things as possible into threatening positions. I end up getting one model that can actually hit Ragnor this turn, which is kind of nice because, again, I wanted to put him in the hot seat here. And then I decided to be an idiot and I put one of the models outside of the zone, so I can't actually cap it this turn, which was a bit of a pain. But the model that goes into Ragnor here does his damage, and we're just making sure he actually had proper line to him. And he did, so roll the damage out here, or the attack roll in a second. And I don't actually... No, I do end up doing a good amount of damage, which he transfers over to the Impaler just to play it a little bit safer, which totally makes sense. I would have expected something like that. So now I'm figuring out what the rest of my models are doing. I kind of just throw the Ogrun solo up, the Forsaken pulls off of Carnivean, and Thagrosh himself shakes combat action, walks forward so he can cap the zone himself, and that's pretty much all there is here. The Mekanoshredder sitting beside him there is just going to kind of run around to the other end, and I'm careful to make sure I can transfer to it if I need to, because I know Thagrosh is kind of taking a frontline stance here. So, and yeah, there we go. I run him all the way over to the other side, and that's my turn.
Trollbloods Turn 4. So right here, Jason's positioned pretty aggressively in the zone, and my caster's in a bit of a rough spot. So I'm looking at the models that I need to, like the biggest threats here. I want Carney gone because I can't leave him alive any longer, otherwise he's just going to take out too much on my models. So right here, the Impaler just stabs an Ogrun, hits and kills. Then he hits another Ogrun, and I believe he stays up though. Then I end up having Ragnor go in a little bit here. So he's gonna hit, or sorry, he's gonna pulverize one just to free him up so he can move. He hits, and I believe it ends up killing. Yep, there it's being removed. And he's going to walk up and then melee another. So my goal here is to stay out of Thagrosh's threat and still kill the Ogrun there, just to free up a charge lane for my Mauler to get to Carnivean. So here I hit. Sorry, he's hitting a Mekanoshredder here. He does a decent chunk of damage. Second one also does a good chunk, and then the last one ends up finishing it off. In between here, I'm also doing some shockwave damage from his melee attacks. Then I have the Mauler go up, rages, and starts punching. So Carnivean does have spiny growth up here, so I'm going to be eating some chip throughout all of this. I don't roll really well here, so I'm doing some damage. I think I blew up that one roll, though. But I also miss a few. And throughout a lot of this, I'm going to be eating a bunch of damage from spiny growth. I believe I end up eating something like 10 damage. So it's a good chunk of my HP gone. Keep on buying attacks. Hit, doing some more damage. So I'm getting him pretty low now, but I unfortunately leave him just on 5.
Legion of Everblight, turn 5. Alright, so I'm in a really solid position here. Carnivean survived, which I definitely didn't expect. I'm up on scenario, and the name of the game here is really just don't give him some odd assassination attempt or something like that. I really just need to make sure Thagrosh can be alive by the end of this turn, or I can just win on this turn. And I'm feeling pretty confident because just having Carnivean still alive is such a fantastic position to be in right now. So I don't actually remember exactly how I play this out, but I know I end up healing Carnivean a little bit because I'm pretty sure at least one or two of his systems were crippled. And so here I think I'm doing vengeance moves right now, actually. So I have my vengeance swings into the Impaler there, his last light beast. And I think I'll start rolling the dice here in a second. Or maybe I was just backing up for a charge. It's entirely possible that's what I was doing as well. So we'll see what I do here. And it looks like I did actually make some attacks there. I'm not sure if those were Vengeance or if those were actually Activation, but I do manage to take out the Impaler. And now I'm figuring out how I want to deal with the rest of his stuff here. Looks like I might even be taking a swing into Ragnor there. Or possibly... Oh no, okay, so that was just Carnivean polishing off the heavy, if that makes a lot of sense actually. So now it's just Ragnor. Now I just got to figure out how I'm dealing with him, and I decided to get really cocky here. I move Thagrosh up and make a breath weapon attack on him actually, because I couldn't quite get to melee. So I spray onto him, I deal a reasonable amount of damage I think, and then I'm pretty sure I'm actually casting Mutagenesis here. Boosting to hit, hitting, and then I want to say I'm boosting damage on this as well. Yeah, and I spend the end of my stack there for that as well. And I put him pretty low, and then, yeah, so it was definitely Vengeance earlier. I moved the remaining Ogrun in, and the goal here is really just to put the beat down on Ragnor. I'm pretty confident these guys hit really hard, and I do manage to take them off the table with a complete board wipe, so that was the end of that game. Alright, so there we have it, Thagrosh versus Ragnor. I hope you guys enjoyed that battle report. It was a really fun game, just lots of medium bases, lots of big bodies on the table, lots of things that hit hard, quite a good number of things that can take a lot of hits. It was just one of those, like, this is kind of the core of Warmachine and Horde's games, which is super fun. But no, really good game overall, and I love playing Thagrosh. Thagrosh and Ogrun is just a ton of fun, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please do drop a like and subscribe. We're going to be trying to post these every other week, so yeah, hopefully the next one's good as well. But until that time, peace.